Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show where we're going to be discussing all the latest Manchester United news. We will also talk about things like the fixtures coming up, the new attack, how they're performing, and more. But we've got big updates coming in on the likes of Højlund on 38.4 million potentially coming in the door for Manchester United next month, which could be used in the January window. Reports of an Ugarte exit, lots of interest in Ugarte from the Galatasaray and people in January. I don't think Ugarte is going to go anywhere in January, but we're going to talk about the reports on Ugarte and a potential exit. You know, it'd be pretty ruthless. INEOS move away from Baleba. INEOS walking away from Baleba. Looks like Wharton is the priority. Manu Kone is another one being looked at. You know, Baleba, who we're all obsessed with, all of a sudden we don't seem to be as obsessed with him now. We're going to talk about Amarin's comments and more. So I hope you're all doing well today. I don't know if you're from the UK watching here. I don't know, but if you are from the UK watching here, is it me or is it just so cold? It's just so cold. Let me know down below where you're watching from, because if you're watching from a hot country, I'm going to be very jealous of you right now, because I am in like so many layers. All of a sudden, it's got dark, it's got cold, and I've realized that like November's like 4 days away. So this is why I'm in like a gazillion layers for this live stream, because I'm literally indoors and I'm freezing. I'm absolutely freezing. But I want to talk about all the news. But Coyote says here, Ugarte exit lol, that will be ruthless. The Baleba prices drastically dropped. Else it's best to walk away. Brighton won't have it their way. I think if you can get Baleba for a good price because his price has dropped, we still pursue Baleba. But if Brighton is still going to ask for 100 million after the way Baleba's been playing this season, then we better walk away. We might as well go for Elliot Anderson as well. Ugarte's form is really shaky. The past game he got subbed on for Casemiro, and our midfield looks shaky. If he goes, I see getting a replacement. I mean, Casemiro's been very good and we've dropped off since Casemiro's come off, but I don't think Ugarte's last two cameos have been bad. I don't think Ugarte's been impressive at United, but I actually thought his last two cameos were okay. I think it wasn't just because Ugarte came on that we got shaky. There was a number of things there as well. People are saying no sound, but I don't know if you're a troll. So, like, guys, let me know if there is actually sounds or I'm being trolled. Freezing in Michigan too. Apparently, Michigan is a cold state. It is just cold at the moment. I'm very jealous. I feel like I would much rather be in Kenya right now. It must be nice and warm in Kenya. Yeah, so lucky. I'm so cold. I'm so cold. Sydney. Oh yes, it's summertime in Australia. I wish I was in Australia. There is sound you're being trolled. I thought I was being trolled because normally when I'm not being trolled, there'll be like 8 or 9 different people saying no sound. But when it's one, I assume. Okay, Mauritius is definitely where I want to be. I think Mauritius is where I want to be right now, as it is a bit chilly. But yeah, we're going to dive into the news. We're going to dive into everything. We're going to get your opinions and stuff and make this an interactive half an hour. So, first of all, our next 5 games. Now I think, yeah, take it one game at a time. Like, in my head, I'm like, we take it one game at a time. But these are the next 5 games, and I'm intrigued to know how you guys are feeling. This is Nottingham Forest, who we lost to Nottingham Forest twice last season, and Nottingham Forest were a good side last season. But I thought that we were the better team when we played Nottingham Forest last season. I thought that both losses to Nottingham Forest, we done enough. We done enough to win those games. I felt that the losses to Nottingham Forest last season were very unlucky on our behalf. We let Alanga run through us and lost 1-0 away. We lost 3-2 at home, but I think we just conceded silly goals from set pieces. And hopefully Le Mans were better at set pieces. Hopefully, I think Maguire will probably play that game. Because I think it would be Maguire, Luke Shaw centre back 3. But yeah, I think Forest is a difficult game, but they're not great. But it is Sean Dyche. We don't always do well against Sean Dyche, and it's a physical game. Tottenham, Thomas Frank's low block. Again, that's going to be a very difficult game. Tottenham away. We haven't beaten Tottenham in 3 seasons. We lost them 4 times last year, which is really embarrassing, especially because that we are still Ange's last win. But it's a different Tottenham. It's a different Man United, but they are third. I think Tottenham's going to be difficult. Do you know what's going to suck? Is if we beat Nottingham Forest and we get 4 wins in a row and Frank's getting ready to cut his hair and the 5th game's Tottenham away and they beat us. That will suck for poor Frank. Everton at home, I fancy us that game. Crystal Palace away. West Ham. I fancy us West Ham home. I fancy us Everton home, and I fancy us Nottingham Forest away to win. I'm nervy about Palace away. Arsenal only just got over the line, and I'm nervy about Tottenham away. So I'm gonna say, if I'm feeling good, 10 points out of 15 for the next few games. I think maybe a draw at Spurs and a loss at Palace, and then we win the other 3. I think, and I would take 10 points from the next 15 games. But I don't know where your head's at, but that's probably where my head is at in terms of predictions, but not easy games. You know, they're the tricky ones. They're the teams we did, like Brighton, Bournemouth, Tottenham, and Palace are teams that we don't do well against as well. People are dying for a new midfielder, but in my opinion, the wing backs are slept on. I'd rather get a proper left wing back in summer. And I did speak about this. We need 2 midfielders and a left wing back, because when Ahmad isn't at wing back, we're so much worse. We're like, when it comes to attacking, the difference Ahmad has made at wing back with Mbeumo is really important for our attacking dynamic, because when you play a back 5 in the Premier League, we need more attacking dynamic. So I do admit, I think we need a wing back. I love this 15 out of 15. I mean that would be great. That would be absolutely great. Just want to win 2 out of 2 so we can get a haircut. Exactly. Cyprus sounds nice as well. Botswana sounds nice. Everyone, like, some people are in hot countries, and I am absolutely freezing. But yeah, left wing back is looking an issue. Dorgu's raw, and Dorgu's a back 4 player really. And Delo is not a wing back. It doesn't take a genius to tell you Delo is not a wing back. I mean, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to get into the news. I'm going to get into the transfer news. I'm going to get into the Højlund, the Ugarte, the Baleba news. But I also am just going to mention that this is a good stat. 5 of United's last 7 goals during their 3-match winning run has been scored by Cunha and Mbeumo Sesko. 5 of our last 7 goals have been scored by our new front 3, especially because Sesko didn't even start the game versus Liverpool, and Cunha didn't even start the game versus Southampton. So 5 of our last 7 goals have been scored by the new front 3. Last season, we were the Bruno Fernandes show. Last season, we went over 20 games without Garnacho scoring, and we went over 20 games without Højlund scoring. Last season, we went over 20 games without our front 3 scoring. Last season, we were the Bruno Fernandes show. Do you know what? It's better when we're not the Bruno Fernandes show. I love Bruno, but we are so much better when it's not the Bruno Fernandes show, because that means other people are contributing. And other people are contributing because Mbeumo has 6 goal contributions already. Cunha got his first goal in a phenomenal performance. Sesko's got 2 goals and an assist. This is what we like to see. This is why you bring in new attackers. When Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz aren't doing it for Liverpool, you know, people will talk about that. But people aren't talking about Mbeumo, Cunha, and Sesko because they're doing it for Manchester United. To be fair, Isak isn't fully fit. Cunha has that bit of magic and that ball striking ability. He should get more goals. Cunha's ball striking is insane. He almost scored a really good goal just before the goal he scored as well, which when he took it on the turn as well. I'm sitting down outside having a beer in my home in Thailand. Paul, you look like you're having the dream life right now. I can't lie. Who was the best player versus Brighton on Saturday? I would say Mbeumo or Cunha. Mbeumo or Cunha for me with the standouts. I would say. I mean, Casemiro had a decent game, but Mbeumo and Cunha. Alice, I agree. 10 out of 15 points would be consistent form, but if we did win all 5 matches, that'd be brilliant. We could be pushing Arsenal. We could be saying title charge. We're in a title charge, which would be great. We have to win all those games because we lose Ahmad and Mbeumo in December. If we can get 15 out of 15 points, that's great. Because I do think those games about Ahmad and Mbeumo is huge. Because if you lose one of them, it's a blow. But to lose both of them is a huge blow. Because I don't think people realise how dominant our right-hand side's been compared to the left. As good as Cunha's been, it's you know, the right-hand side is so big for ball progression and dominance and efficiency that I am very worried when we lose both those players to AFCON. Like, I want both those players to do well at AFCON, but at the same time, I kind of want them back right after the group stage, please, because it's a huge loss. I mean, Mazraoui's also a loss, particularly if there was injuries in the back line, but we can survive without Mazraoui, but we can't survive without Mbeumo and Ahmad. We could maybe survive without one, but to lose both it's a big loss as well. But yeah, AFCON is worrying. We've got these next 5 games, which let's hope we win them, and then we go to AFCON, which is worrying. But I want to talk about the news. I want to talk about the transfer news because we are 10 minutes into the show, and we got a lot to discuss. 7 goals in the last 2 games is also good for us because we haven't scored many goals under Amarin. Antonio Nusa is a good player, but I think he's, you know, I'm glad we went for Cunha and Mbeumo over someone like Nusa because Antonio Nusa is so raw. He's got 1 goal and 1 assist in 7 Bundesliga matches, but he's 20 and he's so raw. Whereas with Manu Kone, you know what you get. Like, I like Nusa, but for me, my dream window is Semenyo, Wharton, Anderson right now because of Baleba's drop-off. Wharton and Anderson could go in the midfield too. Semenyo can go left wing-back, but also play left 10 if need be, and be pace off the bench. Nusa's a Norwegian talent that played over for Club Rouge and has moved to the Bundesliga. Good young talent, had a few injury issues, probably a little bit not ready for the Premier League as well. So yeah, let's dive into this. So this was said via Stretti News, via the OneFootball website. Romano bombshell. Man United could finalise $38.4 million deal this month. It's the expectation of all parties. So Man United making $34.8 million this month would be very good because it put us in a much stronger position going into the January transfer window. So what else has been said? Napoli plan to activate Højlund's buy option this month after being impressed with his performances. The deal would see them pay Manchester United $38.4 million to make the move permanent. Højlund has started well in the Serie A and the Champions League despite recent injury, and both clubs, the player and his agents, expect the purchase clause to be triggered soon. So this was said by Romano that Napoli plan to activate the buy option soon. So that means that Manchester United in the next month could be getting 38.4 million in. Now, there's a part of me that thinks Højlund is injured, despite him being good. Napoli have got until May to activate the buy option. They might as well just wait till April, May to activate the buy option. I'd be quite surprised if they activate it early, but Napoli are looking at activating that early, which means that we could go in the January transfer window having made 38.4 million. Because of the book value and stuff, it will be a little bit less that we have to spend. But that puts us in a stronger position going into the January transfer window, sort of knowing that, well, we've got the money for Højlund, Rashford's going to go soon. There's talk of Ugarte even going in January, and we'll discuss that. But that could improve Manchester United in terms of a financial position to spend a bit more money in January. Just having a quick drink. I mean, I've always seen it. Like, we are going to make 40 million for Højlund, and we're going to make 26 million from Rashford, which is plus the wages. From Højlund and Rashford alone, and then when you think that Sancho is going to be completely off the books next year, it's going to save us like £100 million. Isn't it an obligation anyway if easy conditions met? The easy conditions is Champions League football. As long as Napoli qualify for the Champions League, they have to purchase Højlund. But there's talk that Napoli might just do it early anyway. Even if they don't get Champions League football, Napoli might go, let's say Napoli finish 5th, but Højlund's good and they don't get Champions League football. Napoli will still maybe look to purchase Højlund anyway. But you are correct. It is if they get Champions League football, they have to buy Højlund regardless. So that was quite good. That's amazing news. If that deal goes through, through amortization, we'd be able to spend adding a player. Exactly. It will help us out in January, which is good news. Do you think Maino could go on loan? I don't know. The thing is, you don't you could play Maino and Bruno together in some games, but Maino and Bruno are both more advanced midfielders that you need. Maino's more of a Casemiro Maino's more of a Bruno alternative right now, which is making it hard for him to get in. So he could go on loan. We've seen the improvement when we've gone for PL Proven exactly. With going back to Cunha and Mbuma, the PL Proven's made a big impression. Napoli will probably trigger it, but most likely Warm United to get Maino. Napoli are looking to get Maino in January, which is one to watch. I'd be shocked if we let Maino or Ugarte go in January. There's rumours of Maino going in January. There's rumours of Ugarte going in January. I'd be shocked if we let one of them go in January, but it's possible. It's possible. Had a feeling would click for Rasmus this season, especially in new environment. And also, like, Italian league is easier. There's less pressure on him. New environment. It always felt like it was going to click. So yeah, that's good news because look, Man United could be getting 40 million in the door before the January window, which puts us in a strong position. We also know that Casemiro's wages are going to go. We know that Rashford, we're probably going to make 26 million for him and his wages are going to go. Sancho's wages are going to go at the end of the season. So financially, we're going to be in a decent position, I think, next summer because look at us, and I think we need two £80 million plus midfielders next summer. Now, we've been linked to Stiller, we've been linked to Manu Kone, we've been linked to Wharton, Baleba, Anderson. We've been linked to a lot of good midfielders, even Pavlovic. So we're going to talk about the midfield. So, I've always said the one INEOS signing that's probably had the most question marks around him is Ugarte. There was even a rumour that actually Ruben Amorim had yelled at Ugarte saying, "You're not the same player and you were Sporting," but apparently that was not true. Now, it has been reported that Galatasaray are interested in signing Manuel Ugarte in January, and there is reports coming out from Turkey of an interest in signing Ugarte in January. Now, I know Ugarte is not fully in favour at Manchester United, and I know that he's not getting loads of minutes. I know that he's not fully rated within Manchester United. But Ruben Amorim's a manager he's got a good relationship with. He's a new INEOS signing. I think that Ugarte will stay in January. Oh, my head is like yawning off there. Let me wake my head up and have a sip of water. That's the thing. When I'm cold, I put loads of layers on, and when I put loads of layers on, it makes me sleepy. But Galatasaray are interested in signing Ugarte in January. I don't see United selling Ugarte in January. I see United selling Ugarte in the summer if he doesn't play a lot this season, doesn't have a great season. And if Ruben Amorim approves that, I see Ugarte potentially going in the summer, but I don't see Ugarte going anywhere in January. Ugarte is good in some games. Ugarte is one of those players that he's a very valuable squad player to have in certain games, but he's also a liability in other games. When you think the price that we paid for Ugarte, to have a player that's really good in some games but a liability in other games, I don't quite like the price we paid for Ugarte. Galatasaray interested in Ugarte. There is rumours that United be willing to sell Ugarte. I just don't see us being able to do it in January. I think maybe one of Maino and Ugarte goes, maybe Maino goes on loan, or maybe Ugarte does go, and that means the other stays. But we've got Casemiro and Bruno as our only deep players playing. But one of them will pick up an injury or a suspension, and we're going to need Ugarte. We're going to need Maino to fill in. It's just they're not getting the opportunities now. I think Ugarte's happy to stay at United and make it work. I think United are happy with Ugarte. But I do think it would be pretty ruthless for Ugarte to go in January. And one thing that INEOS have proven to be is ruthless. If you've not been good enough, if you've not given enough, INEOS have been ruthless. And I think that there's a strong chance Ugarte could go next summer. There's been talk and reports of Ugarte going next summer if he doesn't prove himself. Look at Højlund here, 2 seasons, didn't prove himself in the second season. He was gone. Anthony was gone. Garnacho was acting like a brat. He was gone. I think INEOS could force Ugarte out the door next summer. We forced Højlund out the door by signing Sesko. We could sign 2 top-level midfielders and force Ugarte out the door next summer. I think that's something that United could do. But look, despite interest from Galatasaray in January, I don't think United would let him go in January unless we sign a midfielder. Which could suggest, if United are entertaining this, that maybe they are planning on signing a midfielder in January, so they don't mind letting Ugarte go. Whether that's a loan, whether that's a permanent, we don't know. But maybe we are working on a deal for midfielder in January, and maybe we are willing to let Ugarte go. Depends what we can get in winter. That's the problem. I think if United knew they could get Elliot Anderson, let's say in the January window, I think they would sell Ugarte and go for Elliot Anderson. But right now, the only name you think of in the January window that we can get is Gallagher. And I don't want Conor Gallagher personally. Baleba is also becoming very overpriced. I would rather have Ugarte than Gallagher personally. I think Xerxes will be sold in January. I think if anyone's going to go in January, it will be Xerxes. Out of everyone at Man United, the only one I think could go in January. I think like one of Maino and Ugarte could go, but I'm not as confident about it as Xerxes because there's a lot more depth in Xerxes' position. But they might wait till end of January after AFCON to sell Xerxes. We need Maino for depth, but he could probably do a short line. That's the problem. We need Maino for depth because if we lose Maino, we're in trouble in that sense because there's certain games where we need him to come on or certain games where we need him to start. But at the same time, it's not helping Maino's career not using him. I don't think Ugarte's as shit as everyone thinks he is. I agree. I look, Ugarte's a liability. Ugarte's bad in some games, but Ugarte, there's some games that Ugarte's very good in, and there's some game states that Ugarte's very good in. Ugarte, if he was £30 million signing, isn't a bad signing because he's a good squad player to have. But there's certain games where he has the ball and we're being pressed and he's looking to dominate possession that he will struggle in because he's being pressed. So I'm Wharton and Anderson in the summer. I agree. Gallagher's not that bad. I just think for me personally, if Maino can't get in the team and Ugarte can't get in the team, I'm not convinced that Conor Gallagher's much better than them and he's going to get in the team. That's just my mindset. I quite like Anderson. I think I'm really leaning towards Elliot Anderson, but we're going to have to deal with Mr. Marinakis. But Man United, there's reports and suggestions that United could actually be walking away from the deal for Carlos Baleba. This was said by Team Talk. Manchester United are expected to prioritise a move for Adam Wharton over any potential pursuit of Baleba. It looks like all of a sudden, Baleba is no longer our first choice midfielder, Adam Wharton is. Maybe Anderson's another one to watch, but all of a sudden we've gone from being obsessed with Baleba to actually, we might look elsewhere, we might look at Adam Wharton, we might look at Manu Kone, because Baleba's not been great. And when you look at Adam Wharton and when you look at the players that Man United are looking at, it's all players that are really good on the ball, really good at breaking lines, really good in build-up. And maybe Amorim's realised that the midfield isn't good in build-up, which is maybe why we're not overloading the midfield, maybe why we're ignoring the midfield so much, because we're not going to build up and we're just doing long balls or playing wide, that Amorim now wants a good player who's Premier League proven but good in build-up. Now, I like Adam Wharton. I think Adam Wharton's fantastic, but I think Adam Wharton is going to go to not Crystal Palace. I think Adam Wharton's going to go to Real Madrid or Liverpool. I'd love Adam Wharton at Manchester United. I think he's a fantastic player, but something tells me he's going Madrid, Barcelona, Liverpool. But United expected to go for Wharton over Baleba according to Team Talk. I mean, look, Team Talk isn't the best source of information. I always say take what they say with a pinch of salt, but that'll be one to keep an eye on. That'll be one to keep an eye on to see if anything happens with Baleba. But who knows? I've fallen asleep a little bit today. I don't know why. Must hurt you not going for Baleba. I mean, I wanted Baleba and I was begging for Baleba, but with the way Baleba's been this season, if we go for Elliot Anderson instead, I'm not going to complain. Wharton's a bit of a must. It'll be like missing out on Rice again. I agree, but I don't think we're going to get Wharton. I think we've got more chance of getting Baleba. I get why we've abandoned Baleba and gone for Wharton, particularly based off of this season. But I think Wharton is going to be near impossible to get. I think Baleba's becoming overpriced. Wharton profile is more important anyway. We lack a proper centre mid who can dictate play. I agree, but I also think we lack legs considering it's a double pivot. But I agree. I understand why we're prioritising Wharton over Baleba because of the technical qualities. It makes sense. Alice Wharton would fit like a glove. He plays the same system at Palace. He's a proven player. To an extent, he plays the same formation at Palace. The system is very different. But I think Wharton would be a success at Manchester United. It's just a lot of money. Talking of another player I think will be a success at Manchester United is Manu Kone. Manu Kone is a long-term transfer target for Manchester United, but scouts consider him too raw for the Premier League. However, having impressed in Serie A this season and breaking into the French national team, Kone could be an outside possibility next summer. He's a real option coming on leaps and boundaries in recent seasons. Now, I've always said Premier League proven players is the way to go in Boomo and Cunha, but I think that Manu Kone is one of those players that when I've watched him, I think he can do it in the Premier League. I think he's a very good player. He's been very impressive in Serie A, and I think he's the type of midfielder that United should be looking at. I think we need a midfielder. We need to make midfield signings. I would take Baleba in a heartbeat still, but I wouldn't be spending 100 million on Baleba. Brighton don't want to sell Baleba in January. Brighton don't want to lower the Baleba fee. United looking at Wharton. United looking at Anderson. United looking at Manu Kone. United walking away from Baleba isn't the end of the world. I'd love it if Brighton regret not selling Baleba this summer. They might. Liverpool's overpaid on Welk and Isak. You need to spread money around other than two players. I agree. Maybe we just build it on Baleba, or maybe he's just let Man United get in his head. Baleba could, between now and the end of the season, be like prime Moises Caicedo and be begging for him back. But right now, we're not missing much with Baleba. Manu Kone is a fantastic player, and AS Roma also in the French squad. He is a fantastic player, and I don't watch loads and loads of the Serie A, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I watch loads and loads of the Serie A. But out of a lot of the players abroad that get linked to Man United, Manu Kone is one of those, but I think he can do it in the Prem. He's one of those where I think he can do it in the Prem. The media managed to convince Brighton that they were a bigger club than United. Carl for Baleba, says Full Guy. Interesting thought process there. Not the same system. Man United have won the most second balls in the Premier League this season. That's instructions from the manager. Palace have won the least second balls in the Prem. Interesting. Well, one thing that we've done quite well the last three games is Amorim's adapted his system and gone with more of a long ball approach, and we seem to be winning, which is good. Sesko seems to be winning a lot. Our midfield too, not a traditional pivot. Ideally, would have two dynamic box-to-box, or at least a top class 6 and 8. I agree. The physicality of our players have improved so much. If we were to add a midfield player, I can see us getting that physicality up to par and has an engine. I think engine-wise, you look at Kone, Baleba. I think when you're looking at the engine, you look at the Kones and Balebas. When you look at the technicality, you're looking at the Stillers and Whartons. But I do think that Wharton has a decent stamina and decent ground coverage as well. Manu Kone is very physically good as well. I know there's a physicality issue, but I feel like Angelo Stiller could be a good signing. I like Angelo Stiller as a second midfield signing. If you get, Elliot Anderson and Angelo Stiller, I like that. but I think Angelo Stiller on his own next to Bruno maybe doesn't work, but Angelo Stiller could work next to a Baleba or next to a Casemiro. I think Angelo Stiller is very good. He's very technically good, like Subamende. I mean, there's questions over how he'd do the physicality. 3 consecutive wins with a competent keeper, first time since De Gea left, who can catch. Amra must win away at Forest and Spurs. I hope so, and I agree. And also Man United having no Europa and EFL Cup, just League and FA Cup can be a benefit to United, 1 game a week. Arsenal and Chelsea are going to pay 2 to 3, yes, which could keep us more fit, means we don't have to rotate as much as well, and we can continue to play our stronger squad. Still a 6 foot great passer and more defensively minded than Bruno, I agree. I agree, but it is just the getting used to the Premier League, which is intrigued. But I would like Stiller, I would like Kone, I'd like Wharton, I'd like Baleba, I'd like Anderson, I'd like Camavinga, I'd like pretty much any of the midfielders that we've been linked to, apart from Conor Gallagher. But I think Manu Kone, again, don't watch loads of the Serie A, but Manu Kone is one of those players in the Serie A when I have watched him that I think could do it at Man United. First for fouls suffered, first for offensive duels won, second for forward pass completion, third for pass completion, third for pass completion to the penalty box, fourth for progressive carries, and fourth for successful dribbles. I think if there's someone that could do it in the Premier League and come to Man United and do it, I think it would be Manu Kone. Anyway, people, I want to keep this live stream short and sweet to 25 minutes. Plus, for some reason, I am literally like falling asleep today. I'm absolutely exhausted. So I do apologize if there was a point in the midway point of this video, like halfway through this video, where I just seemed to be mumbling. So I feel like I was mumbling the second half of this video. So I do apologize for that. I was absolutely knackered. But anyway, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.